Hello and welcome back to Ibrox, or I say back to Ibrox. It's the first time I've actually been live from Ibrox today. My performance as good as the Rangers one here this afternoon, joined by Stevie, Clifford in the press room to discuss Rangers 0, St Mirren 2. Stevie, where do we begin? Begin at the end and the post-match press conference. You were strong asking the manager again. Were you won over by what he had to say and how he assessed this game and how he answered your questions?
Not really, no. Listen, it's dead man walking stage really with Philippe Clement. I think we all know that the only reason he's still in a job is because we're going through a takeover at the moment. And I think, we'll talk about Clement, and my feelings are perfectly clear on him. However, the players are absolutely dreadful, and they need to take responsibility for their performance as much as, we can blame Philippe Clement, and we can. That was dreadful today all round from Rangers, and it's just not good enough. Absolutely not good enough. So
you obviously, as I never sat and watched this game, result, performance, nowhere near acceptable. St Mirren getting the goals, and you have to say thoroughly deserved. You were very complimented for Stephen Robinson and his presser, and I think you have to give him huge credit for the way that St Mirren came, acquitted themselves, played really well, and certainly deserved to win the game.
Yeah, they did. Listen, St Mirren were terrific. It was a good performance. They were very high, they were very aggressive, and they knew what was going to happen. So, they had a game plan. They worked it very well, and they were excellent. I've got no problem with the result today. That doesn't worry me in the slightest, because it isn't an issue with St Mirren, or it's an issue with our players. They're not trying, or they are simply not good enough. And it's a case of both. The performance today was absolutely dreadful. So, yeah, players should be embarrassed. Should be really embarrassed for that. But I've got no issue with crediting St Mirren because they were excellent.
People talk about reaction, or the manager mentioned after the Queen's Park game, it was about the reaction. He mentioned after the Hearts game that he was pleased with the performance. Cyril Dessers, he spoke about the fan reaction as well. You see the reaction at the end of the game, people leaving after, leaving with 15, 20 minutes to go. Those that stayed behind only stayed behind so they could boo the team off. Even I thought it was really strange at the end of the game, half the team go straight up the tunnel, half the team do a kind of half-hearted walk of shame, I think we should probably call it. It was just a really, really abject day all round from a Rangers perspective.
Yeah, we were dreadful, start to finish. There's no game plan. It's long balls. And we're watching a team that's just absolutely dreadful. We're at end days with them. They're not performing. There's no leadership. There's no desire. There's no heart in that team at all. And I know we can't say it, but there's no strength. There's nothing there at all. And it's just, he said it was as bad as he's ever seen in his tenure, but nothing surprises me with this manager anymore. Where he is not a good manager. He cannot get this team to respond to him. So I'm not surprised by anything that we see anymore under him. I think it's clear that players aren't trying, or they've certainly, can we say they're not trying? But they're certainly not responding to whatever he's trying to do. So I'm just, it's actually at a point where, I'm not enjoying speaking to the manager, because I'm having to say stuff like the majority of the fans don't want you here. And how do you respond to that? And even at the end there, he started going on about, and it's excuses for me. None of the excuses that he gives at the end of that press conference, and that's why I interrupted him and said nothing that's going on in this football club, nothing going on anywhere else stops those players, stops that performance level when they go out on the pitch. None of it matters. None of it matters in the slightest. There is no game plan. There is no strategy of what we're doing. It's a collective 11 that go out there, and you're relying on Czerny, you're relying on Egaman, you're relying on moments from players, and they look devoid of anything at all. they have to take responsibility for this. Absolutely have to take responsibility. But the man that's setting them up is setting them up to fail.
We mentioned on our talking point show about players potentially playing for the future. Obviously, with changes coming, with takeover potentially coming, there's a lot on the table right now at Rangers. It's never dull here, as we always say. It's never quiet. So there's plenty on the go. But a comment that we've seen on the show a number of times is what's going to happen with the manager once the takeover happens. Once there's a new board, there's a new owner. What's going to happen with the manager? And for me, it's not even a question anymore. It's the most. We thought it was obvious for Patrick Stewart to come in and make that decision. He decided not to. The board have decided to stick with the manager. A new board is not going to stick with his manager because it's as unacceptable as it is unsustainable.
No, look, I think the only reason he's still here is because of what's going on in the background. So I've just see when it comes to Philippe Clement, I've heard enough. There's nothing else that's going to change my mind on it. And I know that people don't agree with me. There's some out there that are still very much in his camp and admire that, and I've got no issue with that as well. But he's completely done. In my eyes, there was a real change in how he answered my questions there as well. At the end, he's normally a bit more, not aggressive, that's not the word, but he's a bit more. He answered you back, bullishly back, but today he wasn't in the slightest. I said to him that, the majority of fans want him out, and he didn't defend himself. He said, that's no longer my decision, it's up to the board and Patrick Stewart, which was an eye-opener. So I do not enjoy this. I do not like speaking to him, but I've got to represent what's out there, and it's just, you can't defend that today. And as I said to him as well, this isn't a one-off with Philippe Clement's Rangers team. I put in our article during the week on Rangers Review, and my exact statement was that Rangers are no longer a good team that occasionally play badly. We're a bad team that occasionally play well, and that is amplified by what we've seen in the last couple of weeks. And that is damning of a guy that's watched this football club for 30-odd years, home and away, and that's where we are. And I've got no issue with saying it. I've got no issue in the slightest, because I would rather sit here and be completely honest with people. That's as bad a team as I've seen in a long while. But it shouldn't be. You've got Hadji, you've got Czerny, you've got Eagleman, you've got Raskin, you've got Diamande, and they're set up like they do not have a clue what they're doing. It is long ball, long ball, long ball. And I've asked him about it before, and he's defended it. And I just don't think you can watch it, Chris, today and think that any defence of that is proper, because it's not. That is a very poorly constructed football team from start to finish, and it's difficult not to see how they survive, not let alone the manager, because I think there needs to be a clean sweep through this football club. The whole coaching staff from top to bottom in the first team gets gutted of players that just simply are not up to standard, because we can put it back on Clement, and we will, and he gets the criticism, but at some point the players have got to turn around and say, we just aren't good enough either. And we kid ourselves on with certain individuals in this team, and we try and talk them up. And the truth is that Queen's Park and St Mirren today, no disrespect to the Saints who were excellent, but that's the level of performance they're churning out, and that level is not Rangers level. Just
finally, before we finish up, you can also watch Clement's full press conference on the YouTube channel. You can read the full Q&A on the website, and tomorrow there's an interview with Cyril Dessers there. Also can't give too much away, but he was asked about bouncing back, almost referenced the game on Wednesday night. The Rangers fans are head to Kelly. I mean, there's nothing that can be said, nothing that can be done. The manager has mentioned it a couple of times about, if I win games, people get back on side. Rangers can go and win every game between now and the end of the season. It's not going to make any difference. And the time for speaking about reactions, the time for speaking about performances, it's all gone. It's all done. Rangers just want this season to end as quickly and as pain-free as possible. But watching that, unfortunately, you get the sense there's probably more pain to come, because this isn't a side that's going to get any better. This is a side who know what's coming, a manager that knows what's coming. There's going to be a few more afternoons like this for us to have to sit through, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we know how this ends. I think we all know there's no way that they're going to sack him at the moment when a takeover's there, unless the board are coming in. It's far down the road that they can come in and say, no, we need you to remove him before more damage is done. Otherwise, this board aren't going to fork out money that the other new board will have to do in a couple of months' time to sack him. So we're in a status quo. All we can hope for is little chinks of armour. And it goes back to why I was pleased just to win at Tynecastle last week, because we were damn lucky last week just to get anything. And then it comes to a point where a result like this is literally round the corner every time Rangers play a football match. So that's, we go into Wednesday night, we go into next weekend, we go into our next games hoping. And that's all we can hope, because you watch this team at the moment and it's dreadful. It is dire stuff. And I'll go back to it again. There's nothing there from the sidelines that clings on to anything. So, yeah, Stevie is very anti-management, Chris. But, well, can you really argue with it when you see what we produced in the last couple of weeks?
On that note, we will leave it there for tonight. We will, of course, be back on Monday to go through the game and to look ahead to that game down at Kelly, if we so must. I think after the week that we both had and the amount of words that have been written, the amount of words that have been said, I think it's a Josh and Derek morning on Monday. I'll be making my plans perfectly clear. But no, thanks everyone for your company as always. I say we will be back on Monday and we'll go through this one. Look ahead to Kelly, and I dare say there may be some more takeover news in the offing as well, hopefully to try and cheer everyone up and try and give people a bit more reason to be optimistic. So we will wish you a good night here from Ibrox, and we'll see you soon.